Hello, welcome everybody. This is Wild Times with Tim Harrison. And here he is.
Hey, Sebastian, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I had to put that in there.
Yeah, you gotta get something rocking and rolling.
How you doing, man? It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a little while. Just traveling around doing my thing. Went up to North Cleveland up here and tried to help out with some animal situation up there. And a little day later down the road, we'll have it on the show.
Well, I'm pretty sure a lot of the audience are wondering, and of course me as well. But what exactly do you do?
Well, it's kind of unusual. It started when I was 16 years old. I was looking for a job, trying to do something. I like dogs and cats, so I went and applied for a job at a veterinarian's office. Turns out he was a young vet, and he ended up he worked with the zoos like the Columbus Zoo and Cincinnati Zoo at times, and he was kind of liked exotic animals also. So I started working with him, and I walked the dogs, clean the cages, do everything else, and go play football, do my schoolwork and everything, and we started became good friends. In the process of doing that, every once in a while you get called by a local law enforcement agency to come for a python in somebody's backyard, or as it says in my first book, Wild Times, Tales of Suburban Safaris, that was back in 2001, is that the story about him there, we went to get this bear chained up around his neck, and the chain actually grew into his neck. He grew up into the chain. So it was like a typical story, and nobody could get near the bear because it was upset. So we ended up having to go get the bear, cut the chain, and take it. In the process of doing that, this is way back in '73, I had a ranchero vehicle. I had to take the bear by what was left of the chain, walk him over, jump him in the back of the ranchero, and I jumped in the back with him, held on to him as we drove to the veterinarian office and took care of him. But we maybe get 4 or 5 calls a year at that time. And it went on like that for quite a few years. I would go out every once in a while for different animal, iguana, nothing dangerous, real dangerous, or anything of that nature. But then when he went off and married his high school sweetheart, I ended up still being called by the police departments and the fire and animal controls from around the tri-state area, which was Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana. So I kept going out and doing these things and never thought anything of it. I just continued doing it. And as time went on, reality TV happened in 1995.
Oh.
And things changed. And like somebody flipped the switch on, it went from maybe 4 or 5 calls a year to over 112 the very next year after Animal Planet started. Everything people saw on TV, they wanted to imitate it. If you don't believe what I'm telling you, just remember, what people do in like the show Jackass. Remember that was on a very popular show, Jackass?
Yes.
As paramedics, I was a police officer, firefighter, paramedic for years, and at the city of Oakwood. And it was funny because we would actually get ourselves ready when the first a new show would come out on the Jackass show, and because people would be taking their shopping carts off the roofs of people's houses and smashing them, taking staple guns and stapling themselves in the thighs or other everywhere, injuries that we've never seen before. And this is starting to happen across the country. And guess what? What happened? They had to have doctors and emergency room doctors start teaching us classes and symposiums on jackass type injuries. That's what the title was. So people do imitate what they see on TV. And then you also have it like Finding Nemo. Yeah. Finding Nemo, the whole stinking movie is don't put me in an aquarium. Don't put me in an aquarium. Come get my dad out of the aquarium, right? Leave me in the wild. What happened with the American psyche? Everybody wanted a Nemo.
Yep.
It exploded. Everybody wanted a clownfish. So the clownfish industry went into the billions of dollars after that because every kid wanted their dad to buy one of those things. So buy him a Nemo. So it ends up that people have they look at these things on TV and they do a monkey see, monkey do thing. They wanted to imitate Steve Irwin. They wanted to, go out and get these deadly animals. So we ended up getting, from that point on, the most dangerous creatures on the planet were being brought into the United States or brought to auctions from zoos and roadside zoos and private breeders and sold to the general public. Just the general people, regular people were buying them at these auctions, and they ended up in the people's homes, and in public safety officers were always the first ones to run into them, the injuries, the emergency room doctors. So we had to start our nonprofit Outreach for Animals, which is police officers, firefighters, paramedics, emergency room doctors, pediatric physicians, lawyers, and veterinarians all got together to teach proper behavior around wildlife because it sure as hell wasn't being shown on TV. So we ended up having to start our nonprofit to try to stop this madness. And that's how our nonprofit got started. That's how I got started in this kind of field of protecting and rescuing animals. I'm a human animal advocate, Sebastian. I was originally, as TV Tokyo said, I'm the original one. I was the first one, a human animal advocate in that order. I save humans' lives by being a police officer, firefighter, paramedic, and an adjunct instructor out at one of the largest training facilities in the world for disasters out of Texas. And I've been doing that for 18 years also. So it's one of those things, I'm protecting people and I'm protecting the animals. And I try to tell people you can't get both unless you work with the humans first. The humans have to be the big part of the equation there. The animals aren't even supposed to be here. A tiger's not supposed to be in your backyard. A cobra's not supposed to be in your bedroom. It's the humans that we have to work with, change their way of thought and work with. And that's what we did with the documentaries. There's a perfect example. I got really blessed. I wrote 3 books over the years from 2001, 2006, and the new one here in 2022. But the first one was Wild Times, Tales of Suburban Safaris. It was actually therapy for me. I'm a published author. It was therapy for me because I got all those stories out and nobody could believe half of them. And every one of them was true because there were police calls. And I went out and there had documented evidence. And then the second book came out in 2006 called Wildlife Warrior, More Tales of Suburban Safaris. And everybody was saying, well, Steve Irwin's going to sue you. Well, we were already, Wildlife Warrior book came out way before Steve Irwin really got calling himself that. And so they couldn't do anything about that. And we teach people how to be a true wildlife warrior and stop the auctions in your neighborhoods, get legislation passed, help people to not get these animals, teach them that it's the best thing for these animals to be left in the wild and be left alone. So those books actually caused an internationally award-winning documentary made by Mike Weber, who was a movie producer, a director. He actually did regular motion pictures for like Lionsgate and places like that. He read my books filming a horror movie over in Poland. And he kept calling me and calling me and calling me. And I'm like, I don't want to do it. I'm done. I already been in a couple Animal Planet shows. I already been in, Discovery Channel, National Geographic. I didn't like it. I wanted to take a shower after every one of the shows because it wasn't done properly. It's more like Tarzan, man versus nature, which I was for man with nature, right? I don't want that man versus nature stuff. So I kind of backed away and wasn't going to do anything else. He talked me into his was going to be his first documentary from the books. And he said, if any of this stuff is partially true, it's going to be the greatest documentary ever made on the subject. So I went, he rode with me for a short period of time and he collected some footage and it ended up, he took it to a Silver Docks International Film Festival in Maryland and won with a little bit of it and won the ACE Award and came back with the money to finish it. And I'm so glad we did it because the Elephant in the Living Room opened up the world. And we ended up winning the Genesis Award, the highest award you can get for animal filmmaking and programming. And we beat Oceans from Disney. We were the last 2 down. Just a couple good old boys just trying to save animals' lives. So that's how important the books were. And my new book is called White Magic, Curse of the White Tiger. You can get it on Amazon, just called White Magic, Tim Harrison. And it's a true story of the white tiger. As in my white tiger experiences, rescuing a lot of white tigers over the years and helping with other organizations, and stories of those cats mixed in with the experts and the people that were around the beginning when these animals were being exploited. So that's how I got started in that. With the second documentary, Conservation Game, if you can pop up those posters, is that the conservation game just knocked the roof off. It was, and that came out here in 2022, and it knocked the roof off everything because we came out with a vengeance, but not in a nice, very friendly way. Because I'm one of those kind of guys. I want to help. Just like in the Elephant in the Living Room, I go into where the people that don't like me, I go in with them and I try to help them. I try to change things and I try to help the animal and the people at the same time. We actually help them both. So we ended up doing that kind of stuff. And with the conservation game, my angle was I wanted to see if these guys would help me out. That I want to go straight to Jack Hanna, go to David Salmoni, go to these people that are on all the late time talk shows, morning shows, celebrities, VIP parties, huge TV animal celebrities. Go face to face with them and ask them, where is Jingles, that tiger cub you just had on your lap on Good Morning America. And you would think with endangered species like the snow leopards, they would be able to tell you, oh, no. They all lied to me. They all were saying things off the wall. They could not tell me what happened to the cats. It's their animals, their ambassador cats. That's how they produce them on the show. That's their cat, ambassador cat. And as we found out, and hopefully everybody will watch the show, it's on Peacock, Apple TV, and also Amazon Prime right now. Big news, Sebastian, April 18th, Paramount Plus, UK, baby. They picked it up. We're huge all over the world. Australia, we were number one. They're still sending things. They want us to do a sequel in Australia. Belgium, Australia, Amsterdam, everywhere. So it's like, and we finally, in Canada, we're really big up in Canada. So it was one of those situations where we call it the mouse. The mouse was trying to keep us out of the United States because we shut down that industry. They don't bring those animals on TV. And Mike Weber, his production style and his directing style and the way he puts films together is magnificent. It's not like any documentary you've ever seen. Michael Moore, who is actually, I can teasingly call him the Bruce Lee of documentary filmmakers. Well, he ends up calling Mike's film perfect. The Elephant in the Living Room. He said, we won his film festival, the Traverse City Film Festival, beat all those documentaries at that time, big ones. And he even said it, he goes, this is the most perfect documentary ever made because it didn't take a side. It just led you through this world. And Mike put it together beautifully. With the conservation game, if you sat down and wrote down what we were planning on doing, that's not that exciting. It's not that. The way it was put together, it was like puzzle pieces all put together. Mike did a beautiful job of putting it together. And we were able to get that story out. And that documentary has saved more endangered cats in the United States of America than anything has ever been done. And I can say that without being cocky or without, being egotistical, because I'm constantly getting emails from people that are actually on the front line or in the world saying, Tim, thank God you guys did this. Thank God for Carney Ann Nasser, Michigan State University Law School. Thank God for Mike Weber, the director. Thank God for Keith Gadd, the National Park Ranger and federal investigator. Thank God for Cy. A lot of people don't like Cy, but he stepped up and risked his life to go into Grant Kimmerer's property. He could have been shot. That's how crazy this world is. And I know he's had his problems, but still the man stood up and tried to help these animals. Russ Muntz, my partner through Outreach for Animals. We've been through it all. Russ has been with me from the start of Outreach for Animals. We did, police officer, firefighter, paramedic. We're all set in that. And Jeff Kramer, I got his shirt on. I'm so proud of it right here. The world famous quote. You show this down in Australia or Belgium or somewhere, people know exactly what it is.
Well, actually, can you show me that quote? Like get a little closer. I want to see that. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you like that.
No problem. Challenge accepted. If you watch the film, you'll know what this means. Challenge accepted. I love it.
Kind of speaking of that, you're getting some comments here. I kind of want to show you this real fast.
Okay, good.
So here's one from Liz Green.
Mm-hmm.
She said the conservation game is so good.
Oh, thank you, Liz. I appreciate it. I know that. I love you. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Also, it appears here you're going to be having a book signing soon.
Yes. Thanks, Michelle. She's a part of Outreach for Animals. As like it says there, she's at the book signings at Shizzy's Wildcat Rescue, and that's down in Fair Bluff, North Carolina, and that's going to be this coming up Saturday. Mm-hmm. And it looks like we're going to get quite a few people, but if you're down there, please get your friends, come over, see us. We're in the process. Shazzer Hawk is building this sanctuary down there for cats, bears, and some wolves, and it's going to be beautiful. It's a beautiful setup down there. It's really nicely done. It's a great team, and I'm looking forward to going back down there. I was just down there about a month or so helping build and get things set up. And we also did a book signing then and went down there, and we just had a great time. And it's going to be a premier place. And the people in North Carolina down there, they love it. They're really getting into it down that area. And it's going to be a premier place. We need some more out there because now with the Big Cat Public Safety Act getting passed, and I want to thank everybody out there that's watching right now. And as time goes on, I'll be thanking everybody. Every show we do, once we get on YouTube and everything else, every show we do, I'm going to be thanking everybody for going after their senators, going after their Congress people, because it's all a team effort. It's all a team effort, and it's how it works. I'm trying to get people in the primate world and some of the other world, the reptile world, come together like the big cat people did and just dominate it and win. And it's hard to do when you're all separate and have your own little, everybody's a chief and no Indians thing. We need to come together and be able to express ourselves as a group. And that's what I do in my with teaching as a disaster thing. We unified command. It's called unified command. You get more done if everybody comes together. You got the Uber drivers, you got the bus drivers, you got the fire chiefs, police chiefs, everybody on the same page, and that way you save lives.
So, and also going off of that, and yeah, that's actually really cool that you're doing all this. Also, to all the people that are tuning in that have questions, please send them up and I'll bring them up. In fact, we're getting a few questions right now. I hope.
Donnell, I see Donnell there. Yeah.
Yeah, Donnell here says, would you?
Tammy, anytime Tammy wants me, you know that. I love Tammy. She has rescued so many cats and done such great work. And you all know Nikita's story. And that's one of the ones I can brag about. That cat hated men, that white tiger. You'll read about it in the book.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll read about one of the tigers. I'm not going to give it away. There's a chapter that Tammy wrote about a white tiger she had a story with, which just is, it's heart-wrenching, but it has to be told. And she did a fantastic job on that. But they're true heroes. She brought her team down and she basically said, hey guys, we got this. And she took care of Nikita. And Nikita, if you watch some of those videos when they first came to get her, oh my goodness sakes, that was the most vicious white tiger I've ever seen, tiger period, there for a while. And there was rumors before that when she was at Sam Mazzola's place that she actually grabbed the guy by the throat. So yeah, Tammy's to me, they're beyond fantastic. They're A plus 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 plus.
So, and also, well, speaking of a cat, you've managed to rescue a cat recently. This was all over the radio and also national news. In fact, I remember listening to this when I was in my car. I was just like, wasn't Tim involved in that? It was about, I guess, what you would call the cocaine cat, which is quite a coincidence because of the cocaine bear.
Yeah, movie. Yeah.
So what's the story on the cocaine cat, and how is it doing, by the way?
Yeah, the cocaine cat was kind of an unusual situation. I'm used to big cats, and I do run into smaller cats every once in a while. And I've been doing a lot of reptiles here recently and a few other animals. But it was one of those situations. I get a call from one of our supporters that's with the Hamilton County Animal Control. And I'm not going to use her name right now because she still works some work down there. And she calls up and she goes, can you come down? We got a cat we're not sure of. And it looks like it might have injured itself. So we get there, and the story of the cat is a cocaine cat. Now, you got to visualize there was a movie coming out called Cocaine Bear at the same time. Now, nobody did this on purpose. None of this happened on purpose, except for the person that gave the cocaine to the cat. I don't think he even knew it because he was a person that was also involved with things of that nature, allegedly. So he was out driving his car, trying to have problems with the police officers, try to get away. The police officers stopped him. It ends up, the cat, this is what I heard from one of the officers that said that the cat, he actually kind of turned the cat loose, or got out of the car, turned it loose on the officers, like, go get him, right? This cat was zipped out of his head. Nobody knew what the problem was, took off, didn't attack any of the police officers, ran into the park area and went up into a tree. So it was sitting in the tree. If you guys look it up, you'll see there's a perfect person. Take a look at those blown out pupils. So that's why when I first got there. So it ends up these guys, they could have shot it. Thank God, you got good people out there. They don't want to shoot these animals. It's people always blame the police and everything else that all you gun happy, all this stuff. No. These guys, they didn't want to shoot it. It's not the cat's fault. The guy was placed under arrest, and ended up the cat was in a tree. 2 animal control officers got there, and I give them a lot of credit. I mean, this was a dangerous animal. Anybody who's ever worked around a serval or a crackle, and you've been around a serval, Lord have mercy. They're bad news enough. The noise too, they make some pretty impressive growls. Well, this cat was like you just wind him up. I knew there was something wrong with him right off the bat. They dog snare with a long snare, and they get him out of the tree, falls out of the tree. Now, they didn't know it at the time, but when they got him into the cage, got him back to the animal control, we were looking at him, and those pupils are blown out. And he was just like, and it was like the light's shining right on him, and his pupils are blown out. And he was out of control. But I could see his shoulder was shaking, and so could the medical people there at the animal control. And they're saying, I think he's got an injured shoulder. And I said, yeah, it's definitely something's wrong there. I said, what I gave him advice as I contacted our veterinarians through Outreach for Animals was Dr. Paul Stahl. He was actually a deputy vet for the state of Ohio for a while, one of the top exotic animal veterinarians in the country, and Dr. Dan Brower here in Kettering, Ohio, where I'm from, the Dayton, Ohio area. And he's been on with us because later on, as we go down on these YouTube channels, we're going to show you surgeries. It's going to blow your mind, some of the surgeries done in the past. And Dr. Dan Brower and all of them been involved. And, we've had dental surgeons, some of the best ones in the country from Michigan came down, all different kinds of people coming in, pediatric physicians and surgeons come in for primates. We've had some of the top facial reconstructive surgeons come in for some of the cats because their teeth go off and get blown out. And people train them like Sam Mazzola would train these cats when they're younger with a softball bat, smacking them so they had like fractures in their faces. So it ended up, they grow into them and they want to know why they turn on you. That's what I got to say. I was on a radio show out of Las Vegas with Chris Rock, was kind of the co-host. And that's where he first initially said this before he went on stage and said it later on, is that somebody called in and they said, everybody's saying it's a freak accident, all the experts like Jack Hanna. And I'm sitting there kind of being quiet, listening to these idiots talking about it's a freak accident that this cat grabbed Roy. And he goes, and one of them says, well, one of the cat experts says, well, that cat turned on Roy. And Chris Rock goes, that cat didn't turn on Roy. That cat went tiger. That's exactly what a tiger's supposed to do. And I went, yes, that's the greatest tiger show ever put on stage.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
He's a better tiger expert than these experts that were on the show. And I said, listen, that's a true tiger show. Where does it say anywhere? National Geographic magazine says it's the largest predatory cat in the world. I said, and besides that, it's a perfect killing machine. Actual quote from real tiger experts that work with them. I said, where does it say do magic tricks? Where does it say bring it in your house and let it sleep with your kids? It doesn't, that's nowhere. So it was one of those situations where these cats were just coming in from everywhere and we had this thing going on. But with the cocaine cat, we ended up getting down there, and I told them, I said, the docs got on the phone, helped their doc out, told them what kind of medications to do, because we had to put the cat down so we can examine it. In the process of doing it, I talked to the chief and everything, and I said, if I was me, that he was already planning on doing toxicology because cocaine and stuff this individual was known for that, just in case the cat inhaled some of it or had some problems with it. And this is the sad part, they told me, 2 pit bulls within the last few months before that, crystal meth out of their heads. And we had the last summer in same area, Cincinnati, in that area, we had the cocaine or these, that wasn't crystal meth, but it was a monkey that they thought had cocaine in its system and had some other drugs in its system. And it was like out of control, absolutely out of control. And when the officers asked me, what should we have done? I said, it's real simple. I said, was in the bathroom going crazy. I said, just reach in there, turn the lights off, put some Led Zeppelin on and let him write it out. And that's how you do it. But it was a joke. I just take a little edge off. But it was one of those, for the cocaine cat ended up, we ended up getting that done. We also got a DNA done on it. That was what I said, because they kept saying that it was a Savannah cat. They kept saying it was a Savannah, which is not illegal in Ohio. Yeah, the servals are illegal in Ohio. So they kept saying that, and I said, no, this is a serval. But I guarantee you, they're going to argue and bring paper. Attorneys are going to come in, they're going to argue, just like with wolf hybrids and everything else. I've been through all that. Get DNA. DNA, boom, came back, serval. So the guy got himself in trouble for that. A couple M1s for the serval, having the serval, misdemeanor ones, and then also with what he had with the police department. So there was that. And it's funny because it wasn't any of us calling it cocaine cat. It turned out to be the media, that did it. Downfall, Cincinnati Zoo did take the cat to do surgery. It had a spiral fracture going up into its shoulder, and it needed some really good surgeons, and they have great surgeons at the zoo. There's no question about it. And now I'm in Texas teaching disasters. Guy said, did you see what's on the news now? I said, what's that? And I look at this, and they're going, oh, they're going to make an ambassador animal out of the cocaine cat. I said, no, please,
What?
Lord.
Why would they do that? Like what?
Yeah. What? They didn't see the conservation game? Did they know what happened to Columbus Zoo? It lost its accreditation. What is going on here? And they just thumbed their nose right at everybody. And of course, everybody, I thank everybody again for calling, hammering them. Well, this cat, as you looked at that picture, does that cat look like a cat could be used as an ambassador animal? That cat's going to need a lot of rehabbing. It's going to need a lot of also with its leg. And it never has been a friendly cat, even though this owner may have told you that. It's going to be a situation where it should never be used. It should be sent to a sanctuary to retire. That's what I say. And I'm in the process of trying to help that along. But that's the cocaine cat. And like I said, I was on that, as you saw, I've been on News Nation 3 separate times now, from the Dallas Zoo situations where they got the clouded leopard loose. Somebody was cutting the animals loose and stealing the marmosets, to this, and now they're going to use me as a regular on News Nation. And it's funny how that happened. Is that the young lady that got me to get on, because I wasn't going to do anything, wanted me to start doing it for them because they didn't want one of the guys that we had before on our film conservation game that had just showed what kind of real conservationists they were. They would rather have somebody like me on, at least, to tell the truth. So, I don't get paid for it, but I feel good enough that I can do it every once in a while, especially with Zoom. Makes it a lot easier.
So, with that experience, that's one of the animals that you've rescued. You rescued a lot of animals from what I've seen. And I have a lot of other photos that you've actually sent me here. One that stood out to me the most, and I find this hilarious. I think we talked about this before. It's the cat, you carrying the cat, and here's the dog on the left just chilling. Like, I love that the dog's just like, oh, okay.
I love the dog too. That's why I'm laughing at it. If everybody's out there listening, they know me. Most people know who I am. There's a lot of lies being told about me and everything, but I'm used to it now. I was a cop for almost 29 years. I'm used to people saying horrible things about me. But it's so funny is that picture there, if you put it back up again there, that dog was so used to what was going on there. Because what happened was there were 6 of those in a house. All right. Down the road, we'll be telling that story. We'll be telling the whole story of bringing these cats out of the house. You'll see videos of us going right through the living room with them. This cat here, as you see, is a very large mountain lion. We gave him enough ketamine, a little Rompoon to take the edge off, and we were able to carry him out. The gentleman that's helped me there is Brian Hunt. He's a gentleman was in the Afghan war and the Iraq war. He was an intelligence officer. And he came home, and he was one of my martial arts students. He goes, "Can I help you do anything?" I said, "Well, come with me, young man. We're going to go and help some cats." Turned out to be 16. There were 16 tigers, 6 of these. 7 wolves, 10 lions, African lions, and 1 black bear, all on this woman's property. We'll talk about that later on with Bobby Brink. Bobby Brink, A+++, lions, tigers, and bears. These are the true heroes out here. These are the real. I love it when they did a Tiger Queen series. If anybody has a chance to look that up, Tiger Queen. These people are the heroes on the front line. And Bobby set this whole thing up. She did the logistics. We came in and helped. And it's funny because we tease each other because she asked me, she goes, "I owe you anything for all this? You guys helping?" Because they were sent out to 5 different sanctuaries across the country. And she did all the logistic work and everything else. And I said, "Yes, you need to give me an ice cream." So every time we see each other, she gets me an ice cream.
Real fast, somebody asked a really interesting question. It's something I would have never thought of. This is from Kathy Martin. I hope I said that correctly. She said, "Tim, I so admire what you do, but how do you handle this emotionally? I fear it would about break me," is what she said.
Yeah, it's difficult. It was funny you asked that. I was just on a Zoom a couple weeks ago, and that was brought up. And then I also was with Carney Ann did Oklahoma, where she was out there with the law school out there. There's law students. And that was one of the questions they asked too. So and this is the first couple times I've ever had it asked over the 50 years I've been involved with this. I've never had anybody ask me about emotional stuff. They always ask me about the exciting stuff. So thank you for asking that question. I want people to know out there, if you read my new book, White Magic, it talks about that in one of the chapters, where the emotions, the people that they're caring for these animals for the rest of their lives, even the ex-owners, a lot of them fell into this, and it wasn't they believe the hype. They believe the Jack Hannas. They believe the David Salmones and the rest of them. And they fell into the hype and got themselves into a bad situation with a big cat. They truly love these animals, but they're going to love them to death, not even realizing it. So emotionally wise, it's rough. It's very rough. That's why people say, Tim, do you watch your documentaries? And no. I watched them when the first documentary won about every film festival you got. It was everywhere. We went out and hit them all. I was on like 387 radio shows and a whole bunch of morning shows. Never did it on the second one. I didn't want to do that anymore. That's just too much. And it wasn't, I was entertaining people. They weren't getting the story. They were more wanting is Snake slimy? Were you scared? Oh, no, I stayed away from that. So emotionally wise, I felt better on the second one. The first one, we lost Lambert, which was a killer. I'll admit it. It was a killer for me and all the rest of us. And I'll say it's in the book, White Magic, where Big Russ Clear, the big guy, the Hell's Angel, that was with us for years. He passed on from cancer a few years ago. It broke our hearts. What a sweetheart. But he was still wired. He still had the microphone on. And Mike and I were standing up on the hill, and he's leaning over and looking down at Lambert in the cage. And Lambert's looking up at him. He goes, "Hey, brother." He goes, "I know why they put me in a cage." He goes, "You don't deserve to be in one. You ain't done nothing wrong." Man, Mike and I were crying. It said it all right there. He wasn't a prisoner. Lambert's not a prisoner. But when you pit people that don't know what happened, if you ever guys got to see the extras on that film, him and the son had pulled a freezer up close. We hadn't been there for about 3 or 4 months because we were rescuing other animals. I had 12 other families I was working with at that time with other stuff. And they pulled the freezer over. It started raining heavily. It leaned in and electrified the floor on that's what happened. So it's not their fault because people lose animals in zoos all the time. And it's one of those things that it's sad. But we have to understand we should never have these animals in the first place. Well, if zoos have a hard time keeping them, why would a private individual even think about having something like that? But it's emotionally wise, don't watch the films. I'm always going forward. I've got 4 more things I'm doing right now. In fact, I'll throw in real quick. Outreach for Animals is part of a potential lawsuit for Endangered Species Act. I'm going to be teamed up with some great attorneys down in Georgia, and Shazzer Hawk down there, part of has got a sanctuary down there also. It's a situation. I'm not going to go deep into it. Let's just say animals have died. Animals have been mistreated, and they've been endangered species. And I had warned them once before down there. Well, I warned them many times, but actually at a board meeting down there, you can't do what you're doing because you're going to see us later. Because that's what Outreach for Animals does. You all know. Watch the films. You had to be an idiot not to know that. We're going to come and protect the animals and the people. And we got stuck in a situation now where we're having to protect these animals. So it's an Endangered Species Act lawsuit, which is a federal one, coming up. And Carney Ann Nasser is going to be one of the witnesses basically coming in. And she's going to be the one to explain to them what they've done wrong. And we're going to see if we can get those animals saved, moved out off that property into sanctuaries, good sanctuaries. And that's what we do. A lot of people misunderstand what you see in The Elephant in the Living Room is what I do. I may be the baddest people on the planet, some of the worst people you ever want to be around. You can say horrible things about me. I don't care. I'm going to give those people a chance. I'm going to give those animals the best chance they can get. I'll come in, and we've done veterinarian treatment on animals on people's property that other people say you're enabling them. We're not enabling nobody. We tell people exactly. Just ask Joe Exotic. Joe Exotic will tell you. We'll have stories about Joe later on. You're going to be amazed at some of the stuff that he and I have had run-ins. It's one of those situations where Joe even said to somebody once before, who is a writer? He said, who's the only guy you trust? Joe, is there anybody you trust out there? And he goes, wow. It's the only person I trust is Tim Harrison. He's never lied to me. He's always been there when something went bad, and he's always there to help. He said he may hate me. He says things, he's going to close me down. He's going after me, but he comes and helps. He shows up. And I take that as a compliment. I don't care what anybody else says, because I'm not going to allow these animals, and I'm not going to allow people to hurt other people and animals. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And I don't care what other people think. I'm going to continue doing the right thing because it's worked for 50 plus years. And we never had a repeat once we take animals off somebody's property.
My mic was muted. And with all of that being said, I actually enjoyed The Elephant in the Living Room as well. My most favorite part of that entire film was actually the extras that you mentioned. The one was when you guys were sitting next to the campfire and you were like reading questions and then you put them in the fire. Yeah. That was so cool because it went in more deeper detail of what that documentary was about.
Yes, and the footage. Yeah, the extra footage is amazing, isn't it? It's absolutely amazing. The LA Times said that was the best extras of a movie in 2012. All the movies. And we love it. I still got all those articles. It's amazing. Variety magazine said documentary gold because even with the extras, you got to see the extras. It was funny because Mike set it up. So it was just myself, Big Russ, and him sitting there with all the questions people asked at the film festivals. And then each one of us would ask a question, read one of the cards, and then had amazing footage of whatever we did to solve whatever that question was. And we throw it in the fire after we've done with it, because say something about emotionally, throw it in the fire, move on. And that's how you do it. Everything's forward. And I also want to tell you too, I even brought it up in the book, White Magic. We got to take care of ourselves as animal rescuers and animal caregivers, because there's a high percentage of suicide right now in people working with. We just lost a young lady, dog cat rescuer, from depression and suicide. It's really dangerous. To slip into that overthinking. You've got to be positive. You've got to move forward. You got to continue thinking of the next animal you're going to help. And every once in a while, I get my friend Tammy or Bobby or Cheryl out there at Wildcat Ridge. Cheryl will send me a painting of Nora. I love it. I'll show you that stuff later. Amazing stuff. Tammy will send a little story or something, how Nikita was doing, or, and all the cats. And it makes you realize that, yes, there's so much positive, so much more positive. And with the Big Cat Public Safety Act getting passed, I never thought I'd see that in my lifetime. And I sure as hell didn't think I was going to see Ringling Brothers fold. I never thought that. There was so much going on. Now's the time. It's hot and heavy. I would love to have a Primate Safety Act right now. I would love to see it go forward right now. If somebody wants to jump on it, I know Born Free Foundation was working on it. Let's get it going, because we already know the people. I have met all of them personally with the public safety part of it. That's my profession. That's what I do. That's what I plugged it in. That's my goal. That's my specialty. And I can talk to these people and get them really rocking and rolling. And man, I'm telling you, they're hot right now. It is hot right now for people that want to help.
And yeah, I definitely agree with you with that. I mean, we got to band together and, help these animals, because, it's you said it yourself. Humans are probably the most dangerous animals on the earth.
Oh, yes. Yeah. They're dangerous to each other, and they're dangerous to to what's out there, the environment, and also to the animals themselves. And it's so bizarre, because if you watch the shows, everything you've been taught ever since Animal Planet started is to be an obnoxious outsider in their world, in the environment, screaming, yelling, stomping, jumping. And it's funny. I did when I was down, I did a tour in Australia. We did a documentary for a grocery store chain down in Australia, showing the real Australia, real Tasmania, which is one of my favorite places on the planet. They sent us down to do this, and it ended up everybody wanted me to talk about what we did compared to what Steve-O and the rest of them were doing. And I was trying to explain to him. I said, no, I don't get bit. I don't want to upset animals. I don't tease animals. I don't get hurt. I don't get attacked. I've been doing this for 50 years, and I've handled every animal on the planet. I said, it's like one of those things, even with elephants and everything, I don't put myself in a predicament, and I listen to people who's been around them. I don't puff up and act like I know everything. I'm just somebody who wants to help. But I did an imitation at one of their big meetings I had down there with a lot of their animal people. This has been years ago. And I have part of my mouth is really part of my neck and mouth have been removed from cancer 2020. So I still do it. I think y'all get a kick out of it. And God bless Steve Irwin. He started off with good intentions, and God bless his family. I don't want to ever say anything bad about him, but they love the imitation. I have to do it for you here a little bit. He goes, because everything has to be dangerous. And some of his people, his PR woman, love this. And I go, oh man, we went to the state of Ohio, and they had the mighty monarch butterfly. The wingspan was magnificent. It was a beauty. Oh my God. It flew in, but you got to be careful, mate, because it gets too close to your eye. It'll take its mighty wing and cut the cornea right out of your eye. Danger, danger, danger. So I went around and I did that, and people loved it. They were going crazy. And I told them, I said, that's all you have to do is you make a monarch butterfly into danger. You can take a TV show and make a monarch butterfly into a monster. Let's see the hands of people out there. How many years have we been watching the crap on TV? It's Monsters of the Deep, Jaguar versus Elephant. What the heck is this all about? What are they doing? Monster. Oh, killer. Wait a minute. That's what they do. That's natural instinct. It's not some crazy maniacal monster coming after you. It's one of those. That's what a tiger does. That's what an animal does. And I get tired of it. And that's when people say, do you emotionally get upset? I get upset. I can't watch TV. I have to change. I watch when I come home from disasters or whatever I'm involved with, working with animals. I put on MeTV and I watch Andy Griffith, Hogan's Heroes, and I let my mind go away and realize, hey, we can't take this all in. You can't absorb all this and not just, you have to sleep sometime. So to me, I look in the mirror and tell everybody, I've done everything I can today. Don't listen to the trolls. Don't listen to the people out there. And that's why I tell everybody to make up stuff, because you're doing the right thing. You're sticking up for the right people, and they want to discredit you. So when you do go to court or you do go to some place and try to stop these people from hurting these animals, they'll say, well, look, all these things are said on that. Look at all these things. And it's just the opposite. So when these individuals talk to me, the legal individuals, they realize that, no, man, this is not the guy. This ain't the guy that these people were talking about. And they look at my past and they look, I was a police officer. I was a firefighter, I was a paramedic. I work as a disaster man through a grant through FEMA and Homeland Security. So, I got a lot of connections. And I tell you one thing, working with law enforcement, chiefs, fire chiefs, police chiefs, governors, mayors, they all got stories about exotic animals. That's sad. What did Katie say here?
So yes, I'm going to actually show exactly what Katie said here real fast, because we are actually running out of time. So we're going to end it off with this last question, because this question did stand out, and I definitely like to hear what you have to say about this question. So here you go. If I can press it. There we go.
Yeah, see it now. How can we help animals in our own state to make sure we don't condone or allow private ownership of exotics? That's a great question. I'd love to you to get the. I'm not trying to sell, because the books actually help. That's how we don't get general donations and a lot of donations. So the books help us out. But Wildlife Warrior, More Tales of Suburban Safaris, actually tells you how you can do it. Because I started off by getting legislation passed. Russ and I did, Russ Muntz. We actually got legislation passed in the city of Cleveland, of all places. A woman downtown actually had a giraffe, and a guy had 30 cobras in an apartment building. And he kept telling all these educated people there on the city board, the city council, that he was extracting venom from medical research, which was a lie. That's when I came in. And the first thing I said when I sat there and looked, at the place was packed. I looked at him. I said, first of all, I'm going to start before I introduce myself. You're a liar. I pointed right at him. You've been lying to these people for too long. You got a house full of dynamite that somebody's going to get, a firefighter's going to come in there and don't even know that you got all those cobras in there. And I just opened it up. And people are like, they flash back. And his attorney said, you better watch what you're saying. I said, I know exactly what I'm saying. I've never lost, and I'm not going to lose. I said, because I'm going to tell you the truth, and this is the way it is. And it turned out that we actually got legislation passed there. The young lady that went on to be the mayor there, she's the one that brought me up. She read my first book, and she said, can you come up here and help us? We're out of control. And I came up here, and we did it. We passed it, and that's when we got hooked. We can do this. We can get these legislations passed using public safety. So it ended up, we hit that, Dayton, Ohio. We had a Dayton firefighter killed. We had some other people killed in the area with exotic animals. A friend of mine was bitten by a rhino viper, killed, Dayton fireman. And so we ended up getting that through Dayton, and that's how we got started, all the small towns. So the state wouldn't pass legislation, but we started getting all these little towns. We built and built and built. And that's how you do it. And you have to go to the city council meetings. You have to listen, not say anything, go listen and see who's going to be your buddy and who's not on the council, and then get the feel, and then find out what's going on. And I tell you right now, Katie, the best thing you can do is go to any auctions that you have in your town. Go to those auctions. If you watch the Elephant in the Living Room, that's a huge auction. If you go and those auctions, reptile auctions, they got small ones at hotels, places, and different school settings. You'll go in and they'll have venomous snakes. They'll have all this crazy stuff in there. They'll be selling bear cubs in the parking lot. So you go and watch what they're selling in your community, what's going on. This is how I opened the world up. The first thing I did to open up the world to what's going on, the actual world, was Inside Edition. A guy contacted me and said, can you get us into one of these things? I said, sure can. So we got in there and we opened up the world to it. In fact, I'll put it on again. We always put it on every once in a while. And I'll put it on, everybody's watching today, I'll put it on Outreach for Animals and on my private Facebook again, the Inside Edition piece. That was the first time that the world got to see what a real, true auction is. Not bringing out a zebra or something. Wow. What you see is what you get. It's amazing. So that's how we started. Get to know, become a mouthpiece for the animals, be the voice for the animals. And what I mean by that, don't argue with people, don't cuss at people, don't scream at them. Just be there and care. And you're going to be surprised. I just did an article for somebody right now, just today, where I said, be patient. Be patient. And you watch the Elephant in the Living Room. I'm the most patient man on the planet. Be patient, because I know we're going to win in the long run. I didn't think we were going to win so fast with the Big Cat Public Safety Act, but man, I knew we were going to win. It's going to be sometime. I may be dead, but I knew we were going to win. But thank you. I'm telling you, that's what you do.
And to all the people that have tuned in, thank you for listening. And we hope to do another one very soon, actually. I believe we're going to do this about every month or so.
Yeah, I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks teaching out at Disaster City. And when I get back, we'll do another one. It's going to be like almost 3 weeks, because I'm going to be down at Shizzy's Wildcat Sanctuary down there this weekend in Fair Bluff, North Carolina. Please stop in. If you're near that area, come on in. And it's a lot of fun. The people are fantastic. I'm telling you, in the big, especially the big cat world, they're the most amazing people on the planet. I have never met a group of people that want to help each other as much as they do. And then I watch some of the other groups. They bad talk each other all the time with some of these other animal groups. I'm thinking, why are you doing that? Unify. There's power in unification. And when you come together with smiling faces and you find out, like I can tell you right now, if Cheryl needed something, Tammy would be taking care of it. If Tammy needs something, Cheryl took care of it. And that's how it worked. I was amazed. This is how you're supposed to do it. And I brought some of that into the human disaster training to help people pay attention, that we don't all have to put your egos at the door, save the animals first.
And we also thank you for that. We're also going to be putting this on YouTube as well. We're going to be doing that probably with the next one. And this one will be on YouTube as well. So please tune in on his YouTube channel. We'll give you that information as well. And with all that, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you for your support. And you guys have been listening to Wild Times with Tim Harrison.
Thank you all. Stay safe. Gotta get better music.
Thank you very much, y'all. Take care. Keep rocking.